Hi, folks. I'm Jim Pouliopoulos, also known as Pooley to most of my friends from WPI. I graduated from Worcester Polytech back in 1984 with a bachelor's degree in electrical engineering, and then I went on and got a master's degree in engineering as well. But after a few years of working as an engineer, I switched careers and went into sales, and then into marketing, and then eventually arrived at my current career as a business professor, an author, and a professional speaker. I recently co-authored a book called How to Be a Well-Being, Unofficial Rules to Live Every Day. And although the book will be out in a few months, I wanted to share some of the ideas in the book to help you during these very difficult times. I consider myself a recovering engineer these days, but I still have a pretty analytical way of looking at life. And that's why I was happy when I found out that there was a formula, an equation, if you will, that explains the roots of your personal level of happiness or unhappiness at any given time. The formula can come in very handy to explain what we're all experiencing right now and what we can do to kind of keep ourselves a bit more positive during this coronavirus outbreak. The formula was developed back in 2005 by three researchers, and it's also based on some work that was done by positive psychologist Martin Seligman. Basically, the equation that you can see over here is H equals S plus C plus V. H is your level of happiness. S is your set point. S is your genetic predisposition to being happy or unhappy. If you're generally a happy person, thank your parents. If you're generally an unhappy person, well, then you can blame your parents. Your genetic predisposition, your set point, if you will, is worth about 50% of your overall happiness level. So it's a pretty important variable, but there's not much you can do about it because it's sort of programmed into your DNA. The C stands for conditions, so life conditions, the environment in which you find yourself in. Usually, life conditions are things like, what's the weather like outside, or what's your commute like, or what's the culture of the company that you work for, or the type of family relationships that you have. It can also be the economic or the political environment in the country in which you live. Generally speaking, you have little control over the conditions that surround you, and when you do have some control over those conditions, it's sometimes difficult to change them, or it can be expensive to make those changes. Obviously, these days, most people find themselves surrounded by an environment and a set of life conditions that are challenging, to say the least. We live in very stressful and anxiety-inducing times. Most of us are working from home now, or many people have lost their jobs. People are staying away from other people, practicing physical distancing, and we just seem to be washing our hands all the time, incessantly. The good news, I guess, is that the conditions that make up your happiness score count for only about 10% of the overall level of happiness. So although it seems like it would have a much bigger impact, in actuality, your life conditions don't have as much of an impact on your general level of happiness every day as some of the other variables. The last variable, V, stands for voluntary activities. So these are the daily decisions that you make about what to focus on, what to read, what to watch, how to interact with other people, how to focus your thoughts throughout the course of the day. Whatever decisions you're making are the things that drive your voluntary activities and drive your level of happiness up or down. So if you're doing the math along with me, 40% of your overall happiness level is the result of these voluntary activities. In other words, the way that you live your life every day has a huge impact on your well-being and your sense of happiness and your sense of purpose. But these little and often subconscious decisions that you make every day, all day long, can actually drive your happiness down if you're not careful. So the good news is you have complete and total control over those voluntary activities. You can choose positive thoughts, and you can do positive activities to drive your level of happiness up, even in times of crisis like we're facing today. So I'm going to give you a few things I want you to try, because these are voluntary activities that will help drive your happiness level up. First thing is, do things that make other people happy. Check in on your elderly neighbors, for example. Offer to go out to the grocery store and buy their groceries for them so they can reduce their chance of exposure to the virus. Or go volunteer at a food pantry or some other community organization that needs help right now. Or even just do something as simple as read books online for maybe your nieces and nephews, or your grandchildren, or people that you know who have kids who are stuck at home during this time. Another thing you can do is exercise every day. Even if it's something as simple as going for a walk or tuning in to an online workout routine, do something to get your blood flowing, because that will help strengthen your physical immune system, but it also helps strengthen your emotional immune system as well. Write in a journal. And most people are a little bit daunted by, opening up a blank piece of paper and beginning to write thoughts in a journal. So I suggest doing the following. Just every day, at the end of the day, write down 3 things that you're grateful for. Just think back over the last 24 hours and pick 3 things that you're thankful for in your life and write them down. And they can be very simple, and they don't have to be anything extraordinary. But also challenge yourself not to use the same items on your list day after day. So in other words, every day look for 3 different things that you're grateful for. By doing this, you're tuning your brain to find the positive things throughout the course of the day, and over the period of a few days, your feeling of happiness will begin to rise. Here's another thing you can try. Take 5 minutes to tell a story to a family member about a happy, memorable event from your past. Maybe it's about a great vacation that you went on when you were a kid, or maybe it's a funny story about you and your best friend when you were growing up. Whatever the story is, whatever the memorable event is, the act of telling the story out loud actually releases the same kinds of endorphins that you were feeling when you were actually experiencing those things in the past. And so your level of happiness rises as if you're in the same situation as you were in the past. Another thing that's very simple to do is just to call up a friend, a family member, or a coworker and just thank them for something that they've done for you in the past. Gratefulness, thankfulness, reaching out to other people automatically raises your level of happiness. So I know for a lot of people watching this, you might be thinking, it seems a little selfish to worry about my personal happiness when my friends and my family and my coworkers are all experiencing this anxiety and fear about the challenge that we're facing right now. But your personal happiness is sort of the foundation upon which you can better help the people that you care about. So when you board an airplane, you're told that if there's an emergency, you should put the oxygen mask on yourself before you try to help anyone else. Happiness works the same way. You need to take care of your own well-being in order to be able to take care of the people around you better. Your family and your friends and your coworkers, they all need you to be at your very best during this difficult time. So, I hope that you've enjoyed this little lesson on happiness. I hope that you'll try some of the things I suggested. Take care of yourselves, stay safe, and thank you very much.